I remember being on a panel one time and every single person, I work out in the morning, and I was like, so do I, but that's not it. It's finding, number one, health is wealth. That is such a key thing that I lead with all the time. I'm like, you can have all this money, be out of shape, be bad health. And it's like, who cares, man? Like, I want to be able to run around with my kids and have them on my back and get mistaken as their brother. Like, that's something that's important to me. So I found a health regimen that fits me. So that's number one. I think number two is,
welcome to the Adriana Ostapenko podcast. I'm here with a good friend, David Robbio. David and I have known each other for about 8 years or so a little while there. We've seen each other grow, go through tough times and good times, and develop together. So it's been fun. I started this podcast because I started investing back in 2016. I knew nothing about investing in real estate, and real estate completely changed my life in so many ways that I can't wait to share with everybody how it's possible to start from nothing and be able to accomplish so much in such a short period of time. So thanks for joining me, David. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, couldn't be more happy to be here.
I love that. I'd love for you to tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so like you said, my name is David Robbio. I'm a real estate broker here in the GTA, and we sell a ton of real estate going from Burlington all the way to Toronto and everything in between. Actually done transactions out of province as well, and with our referral partners and things such as that. But I mainly focus here in the GTA, and I run and operate a boutique real estate team called the Robbio Realty Group, and we operate out of eXp Realty Brokerage. And yeah, we've been going, this is our 7th year going strong, and we've been ranked top 1% all across Canada, and actually technically global if you base off the amount of volume that we do for the past 4 years in a row now. And we've just been motoring away, keeping things going. And it's been amazing. And I appreciate people like Adriana and all of our amazing clients who continue to support us. And yeah, we're just getting started. We have a lot of really good, big things ahead.
That's amazing. So David is my realtor here in the GTA. We've been buying and selling together for the last 8 years or so. He's also my top 1 recommended realtor in the GTA. So yes. Lots of good things to come from here. Share a little bit of a background and experience in the real estate industry.
Yeah, so I guess background experience, just like you, right? Because you and I connected kind of right at the beginning of both of us started to explode into things. And like you said earlier, it was very fast, right? So been in real estate again, going on 7, 8 years now, whatever the time frame is. And experience had none. So I needed to find some, right? So we just went motoring along, knocking on as many doors. Then I kind of had 2 real estate verticals. One was I need to get proficient in real estate sales to get the commission income, but then I need to get good and proficient at real estate investing. Once we have the money, where do we put it, right? So I kind of jumped on both verticals essentially at the same time, primarily from the investing perspective with student rentals, pre-construction. That was kind of my main game. And then I ended up doing a flip for myself and things as they progressed. And then the real estate sales line was just metrics, more conversations, more people, more reps put in, and then we're going to sell more homes, right? So that was kind of my experience, which now has brought me to this point where I've personally sold over $250 million worth of real estate. I have a very heavy, is that coming through on the computer too?
No, I didn't hear anything.
Okay, cool. Okay, we'll get into that after. So yeah, up until this point, I sold over $250 million worth of real estate in my career, and I have a very healthy 7-figure real estate portfolio that I currently own. And that's been, I guess, the bulk of my experience. And I think going into where we are right now, 2023, I think we're adding another notch on our belt for experience as we're in a very turbulent transitioning market where there's a ton of opportunity, but also a ton of uncertainty. So looking forward to continuing to manage that as well. So yeah, a lot more experience to come, but up until this point, pretty well experienced in those 2 verticals. That's where I feel very confident in. Yeah.
I wanted to tell a story of how we met because that was interesting. I think the story really shows the power of, sales, but also like building relationships and what that has evolved into. Can you tell the story?
Yeah, so essentially, like I said before, starting my real estate career, it was numbers games for me, right? So at the time, and I was young, I think we'll talk about that a little later on, but I was very young. I was 20, starting out into my career, and I just was like, you know what? I don't really know anyone that can afford real estate in my area. So we just went knocking on about 150 to 200 doors every single day, and it was fantastic for my career. Sold 26 houses my first year, which is remarkable. And going along that, I stumbled upon this awesome little street. and I saw someone who was walking from their car to their house carrying some paint cans, and I stumbled into a conversation, let alone that was Adriana. And then I had the opportunity to meet her lovely husband, Anton, and the rest of the whole family. And at that particular time, you got, I believe that was that your first flip?
So it wasn't meant to be a flip
It wasn't
originally.
meant to
It
be.
was just a primary home.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was your home, and you guys have done a remarkable job on it. And so much so that you guys made an ancillary unit in the basement where your mom was living at the time. And I think the conversation essentially was just relationship based. We were really connected. You were a really good person. I knew that even aside from the fact that you liked real estate, that would come when it comes. It was like you were a good person. We connected. Real estate will kind of come out. Happened a lot faster, maybe than both you and I kind of connected. Essentially, we connected. I kind of just said, let me give you an updated evaluation. Not only did I give you the updated evaluation, the stress of potentially going on the market was super not sexy, right? Dealing with family, kids, and everything. And I was like, hey, I can sell it off market. And I did just that. And we got you not only the price that you wanted, but no showings, nothing was like that. And I think that was the start of a really good relationship where you're like, oh, this guy's working super hard. And I'm like, oh, she's trying to make something happen. And together we were a little bit of a power team. And that was the first of many transactions, not just for yourself, but your family and stuff like that. But to your point, the power of relationships, you connect with good people in an authentic way. No intention of whatever, like, oh, I'm going to try to use this person for this or whatever it is, and just let it happen, and things just kind of work.
Here's some things that really stood out to me about you and why we ended up doing business together at some point. David knocked on my door. He's a kid, he's still very young, but he looked even younger. This is 8 years ago now. You can see his face right now.
I did shave this morning though. So.
You still look 15, but you looked, even younger then. You look amazing, by the way. So you knocked on my door, introduced yourself. You're very personable. You're very friendly. You're very you speak really well. You communicate really well. And I had no interest in selling my house. We had just recently bought it. We were renovating, finishing a basement apartment on there. Had no intention of selling whatsoever. But you know what? He offered some value. He said, once you're done with the renovations, I can tell you what your house is worth at that point. I'm like, okay, there's value in there because I want to know. There's a reason why we're doing these renovations. The biggest thing with David is he stayed in touch. He would call me every month, every other month. He would hey, you said you're going to be done about this time. Are you ready for me to come in? 2 months later, he'd be like, okay, hey, how are you? You said to touch base again. And then you just stayed with me. You stayed on my mind. You stayed connected and reaching out. And that made a huge amount of difference. When it was time to sell, it was my chance to be like, okay, I know who to call. This guy has been calling me. He knows my property. He knows the family now. And to your point, you offered a bunch more value after that because you were able to work with me in how I wanted the house to be sold. We worked well together. You were willing to do certain things like put exclusive on the market and sell it without showings, which was a huge deal for us at the time with small kids. So many good things there, but following up, being the good person that you are, and then offering a ton of value. I think those three just make it for a really killer, person to work with. So.
Oh, I appreciate you sharing that. It's really cool perspective, hindsight, because, especially salespeople, sometimes when you feel like you're calling someone, the number one thing that jumps on your shoulder is don't call them, you're going to bug them. Don't call them, you're going to bug them. And the whole paradigm shift is I'm just genuinely trying to help and bring value. And until you say, hey, you're bugging me, I'm just going to be chippy, cheery, hey, because in my head, it was very authentic. And it's very cool to hear from your perspective, no, it was authentic. So I think that's a really good message to get out there. So if any salespeople are listening, it's in your own head. There's amazing people like Adriana who are no, that meant a lot. And even from the different perspective of, hey, can you help me in this way? And I was like, yeah, let's cater it to what you are looking for, right? Not this is just what we're going to do, kind of make it happen or not, right? So I appreciate you sharing that actually a ton. That's really cool. It's the first time I heard that. And we have to be on this podcast to get that, right? After all these years, that's exciting.
I love that. Share with me. So you are, again, we talked about you being young. I don't want to keep talking about that only, but I do want to highlight because you gained, a huge amount of success at a really young age. What would you say, to what you owe your success at your age?
I would say the biggest thing for me owing my success at my age was essentially a sense of naivety. I didn't know what I didn't know. So I didn't have a lot of bad business experience or whatever essentially it was. And at the time, we started a family really young, right? So Christian is 8. So if that wants to give everyone perspective, I have an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I'm happily married to my middle school sweetheart, like the whole 9 yards. But we were broke. I had no money, and I also had nothing to lose. So I wasn't scared of losing nothing, because 0 is 0, right? So I only had the upside. So I told myself that. But then I also got around the right people who actually had done it, which showed me that it's totally possible. And then it gave me the competitive edge of like, wait a minute, they did this in their 40s or whatever it was. And I said, then that's just a thing that I can inherit now. So it gave me a huge sense of optimism. And then it was the matter of, here's the blueprint. You could totally do it. And I just took it, and I told everyone that didn't align with my message, that I just chose not to listen to them. Not being rude, not being condescending, but understanding that everyone's going to put their 2 cents in. And it's on my accord to say who I'm going to listen to and why. And like I said, between now and right now in my career, I've sold over $250 million worth of real estate. That is like I never, like when I got in the business, I'm like, oh man, if we could, sell maybe 5 homes a year. And I was like, we're trying to push that 7,500 transactions per year marker. And it's like, man, it's just, but again, it's the right people with the right messaging and truthfully understanding that it can be done. And you need to put the time in. There's no like easy shit. Like I said, 150 doors to 200 doors was kind of my target per day. And it was just meet as many people as I can, see who I genuinely click with, and then followed our sales cycle. And it works. It's, a lot of work, but it totally works. And if you're down to put the energy through and you're really passionate about it, it just happens, right? So I think that was probably what it was. And I also got a taste of it really early on. Like I said, my first year in the business, I sold 26 houses, and right away, rookie of the year, hey, come on this panel, all these things. And I kind of felt in my head, like, I'm not really doing anything special. I'm doing what I was told to do, and I'm just getting started. So that was a sense of like, so this is actually it. This is the secrets, which is hard work, consistency, and the fundamentals. And I was like, oh, this is cool. This is it, right? So I think that was kind of the bulk of how it all happened so quickly.
So the secret is put the work in.
It's not a shock, but everything on YouTube is get rich quick. Here's the 3 quick guaranteed ways to make $1 million. It's like, and then look at their click rate. And then you go look at someone else in Top Economist, or even like Ray Dalio, and he's like 4,400 views. It's like the not sexy wealthy guy is telling you what to do, and the, kind of guru gimmicky crap, right? So but again, this is what I found out too, not to sidebar, but you always click on or do with what you want. So if you want the quick way, you're going to try to find the quick way. I was like, I got time. I'm looking for the right way, right? So, and then I got around the right people that were doing it at a high level, and I just mimicked their blueprint. That was it.
I love it. I see some of the principles that I use in my own business as you're talking there. One of them being, I'm here for the long term. I tell my partners that I'm not here for like quick turnarounds. Not that we can't experience those, and we have.
Yeah.
But everything that I do, I think long term. I think reputation. I think like solid and stable. And that's what makes me sleep well at night.
Yeah.
But also that's the perspective I go into every transaction, every new real estate deal that we acquire. And that has paid off, not looking for a quick turnaround on things, knowing that buy and hold brings a lot of benefits as well. I love it. In terms of like habits there, you just mentioned a few in terms of hardworking, but I know you have very particular things that you like to do. So what would you say are your top like 3 personal/professional habits that have contributed to your success?
Yeah. So I'm going to try to not be so like, because these things matter, but it's not that people need to go do my things. People need to find their things, right? So I remember being on a panel one time, and every single person, I work out in the morning, and I was like, so do I, but that's not it. It's finding, number one, health is wealth. That is such a key thing that I lead with all the time. I'm like, you can have all this money, be out of shape, be bad health. And it's like, who cares, man? Like, I want to be able to run around with my kids and have them on my back and get mistaken as their brother. Like, that's something that's important to me. So I found a health regimen that fits me. So that's number one. I think number 2 is, I guess, habits is it's always seeing the long term. Like you said, I'm not here for, let me just put a sold sign on and get the heck out of here. I'm trying to build a big organization that I can not only leverage, get other agents to plug into and build a legacy for myself. And if my kids and my family want to take part in that, and that's fine. But I think the habit of always thinking long term has been really big. So health is wealth, looking for the long term. And then I guess the third habit, like, I don't know. I think just doing the fundamentals. Like I still generate leads on a daily basis. I'm still following with people very consistently and regiment. As you mentioned earlier, I've been doing it from day one to now. It's just compoundingly, and there's way more to be dealing with. So I think sticking to fundamentals, looking for the long term always, and understanding that if I'm not healthy, none of the stuff matters. So I'd say those are like my key three things.
I want to talk about health for a second there, just because I recently had an accident, as you know, and it was such a interesting like mental shift that happens. Things that were stressing me out just 5 minutes before the accident were gone from my head.
Gone.
Everything had a different perspective, a different light, because it was just like, oh my God, like none of it matters. None of it matters. The dishes don't matter. That email that didn't send out doesn't matter. Like what matters is being healthy, being present, being, well, to be able to live your best life. And what a mental shift it does when something happens. The better you can realize that without getting into an accident, without having a health scare, if you can prevent and take care of yourself daily, mental, physical, emotional health, I think like that's what optimizes life and business for that matter.
100%. I mean, I think the old adage is the business will grow to the extent that you do. So the more you take care of your body and yourself, and you take care of your family and take care of your home and your routine, your business will mirror that. You don't think like, oh, I'm going to grow this big business and then I'll become organized, or oh, I'm going to grow this big business and then I'm going to be profitable. It's like, no, you got to lead with those principles first, and then they'll mirror your business, right? So, I think this is a topic that we can go in circles and circles. Bottom line, just stay healthy, and then just let your business do its thing. Then you'll have a healthy business. If you don't have a healthy lifestyle, you're probably not going to have a healthy business, right? So, yeah.
So agree with that. I'm going to change direction slightly because I want to touch base on the markets. We have been, I tell people this is my first, as a real estate investor, my first down market. Even though rationally and logistically, I knew it was coming. I knew that it happens. I know the different strategies to implement. It's not the same as actually going through it. So definitely a lot of good realizations that came out of it. One is I'm kind of really happy, and I shared that with you a few weeks back, of how we build our business, because we were thinking long term, and that's made a big difference going through this time right now. But tell me a little bit about your understanding of the market as is right now, and what would be some of the best strategies that home buyers can leverage.
Yeah. So when I'm saying this, and I don't know the audience and whom's listening, I'm very specific to the GTA, right? So the Greater Toronto area. However, I do believe, looking just generally at some other markets, there's a lot of symmetry. So don't hold me exactly to it, but if you're in the GTA, you can quote me on my words. So essentially, the biggest thing that we've been seeing in really simple terms, there's three key things that we always focus on. Number one is how much new inventory is penetrating the market. Number two is what is the actual acquisition, how many sales are actually happening based upon that. And then number three, what's the average price point? And then there's even a kind of 3.1, if you will, it's the price bracketing, okay? And here's the bottom line. Number one, in terms of inventory, we have to go 4.1 months of inventory. All that pretty much means is anything over 4 months is a very heavy buyer's market. 2 months and a bit is, we'll call it balance, but historically in the GTA, we'd be lucky to be hitting 1 month of inventory, because predominantly, decade after decade, we've been a very heavy seller's market, right? So right now it's a huge shift because it is a dramatic buyer's market. So that's number one. Number two, we do not have nearly the number of sales to even consistently eat the inventory we have now. And month after month, it's compounding. So we're kind of separating our equilibrium, if you will, with making it even a more and a more buyer's market. So what should you do in a buyer's market? You should buy. But why aren't people buying? Because of the uncertainty, like you just said. People know that the tactics they should be doing, but it takes a lot of courage to cut that check and actually step that foot forward. And then we're going to come into 2025 and everyone's going to go, shoot, I should have done it, right? So I'm just trying to, obviously I'm not pushing people into the wrong direction, but trying to help them understand there's some really good buying opportunities if you do have some good capital. And then if you look at our prices, we're nearly down 30% from the peak of less than 24 months ago. So putting that into perspective, you're getting unbelievable discounts on product. And I mean, what do people do Black Friday, Boxing Day, and all these things? Even Amazon Prime Day, you're saving 2 cents, but you see it in red. You're like, I'm going to buy this. And I know because I did that with my stupid frame TV, and I literally saved 2 cents because we thought it was on sale and totally wasn't, right? But now I'm telling people everything is on sale, but they keep focusing on one thing, which is the interest rates. It's all I keep hearing about, and I respect it. And it's more a matter of, I guess, again, super cheesy adage, you date the rate, marry the home. If you're buying a good product at a good valuation, you know we're getting it at a very considerable price where the upside has actually been proven less than 24 months ago. And historically, if you look back at the graphs, our market goes like this because, simply put, we don't build enough homes to meet our even current demand, let alone compounding demand. So if we understand that, and then the rate, we understand also that it changes as a homeowner, every 2, 3, 5 years, you're going to have to secure a mortgage, and then you're going to have to refinance anyways. You just refinance when the rate comes down. And now you're sitting on a lot of equity. You put yourself in a really good situation. And this is a really very basic concept, whether it's a primary home, whether it's an investment. These are what we're seeing right now in the marketplace. And to be very frank, I have a lot of very educated buyers who've been pulling triggers right now, right? Like they are actively capitalizing on this. And then even from our sellers, there's people who've had home ownership for 25, 30 years. They're saying, David, regardless, cool, I could have sold it for this. I still have no mortgage. I still only have a small $100,000 line of credit against my home. They're still having tremendous upside in relative to where they bought it. So the seller's perspective, we kind of have two sellers in the marketplace. We have people who need to sell, right? And the people who would like to sell, right? So the people who need to sell maybe for some reason are in, I don't even want to say financial jeopardy, but they no longer need the home for whatever reason. They got a new job promotion, they have a baby or whatever it is, the space doesn't suit them any longer. And then we have the people who want to sell and essentially say, and I've been having these meetings, David, if we get X, we'll sell our home. If we don't get X, we're not going to sell. So I, as a professional who sells nearly every single home I list, I would tell those people who want, this isn't the market for you. And we're not going to get you those miracle unicorn numbers, right? So we would just encourage them to stay on the sidelines and watch the market, and we'll let them know when they can enter. However, there's 70,000 agents, not all like me, and they're desperately looking for any business right now because they have nothing going through the pipeline. So they put that home on the market. And what that does is it falsely either inflates the market, and it makes these people who do want to sell get worried about their competition, and then it kind of puts a little bit further strain on price. So selling is still totally good time depending on bracket, but buying doesn't matter what bracket, for like million under to 3 million, it's a buyer's market. If you can get in, get in. So that was my long-winded answer. Okay, I tried to hit the
no, that's awesome.
Minutes, but that is the answer. And we've been having this conversation with dozens and dozens of families every week, and it's actually been appreciated at a high level because all people are looking for right now more than anything is certainty and information. Because you pick up your phone, call your mom, you go on Instagram, whatever it is, wherever your information source, and you're like information paralyzed. Like, what the heck is the right thing? And I'm over here with tons of families consulting with the right thing and just seeing what their needs are.
I've said these words so often in the last few weeks. If you're not buying right now, you should be buying. This is the time. We're all always waiting to buy. This is the time to buy. This is when you get a chance to get in the door. We're seeing deals that we offered on 6, 7 months ago that are coming back to us now on the larger multifamily side. Yeah. They're willing to talk. There's creative financing available. There's sellers that are willing to have conversations. We know that buying something right now at today's price, just by holding on to it for the next, let's say, even 3 to 5 years, once interest rates adjust.
Which is great, by the way. Like 3 to 5 years, like I think people just got so spoiled and 20% appreciation in 1 year, right? It was like, if you get rid of these past, like 2017, just pull it out and look at the rest of our trend marks, 8 to 12% per annum, that's a great ROI on a property, right? Let alone you get into the multifamily space and the refinancing options, things like that. Like, you're in a whole different world where it's literally printing money, okay? I'm in the world of, even for an investment perspective, not on the scale that you're doing, right? But like where you guys are at in the multifamily space, if you're not jumping on deals right now, I just think maybe you don't want to be in the space, right? Like that, or maybe you're over leveraged or whatever it is. But that, again, this is definitely the time to be getting into the market again for the next 3 to 5 year window. Like, yeah. And I mean, I know that I don't want to be doom and gloom. Things don't get better in 3 to 5 years. We have way bigger things to discuss on our hands than real estate valuations. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's definitely worth the risk right now.
And this is why I like the multifamily space, because all of our buildings are cash flowing. My triplex in Hamilton is no longer with the new interest rates, but our, 24, 12, 50 units, they cash flow. So this is the secret of holding on to the long-term 3 to 5 years. Regardless whether you want it or not, that those valuations are going to go up. If the debt service ratio adjusts even by 1 point, that's millions of dollars worth of valuation that we just automatically gained by interest rates lowering 1 point.
Yeah. And not to mention the security too. Like, again, I have student rentals, I have duplex, I think you name it. None of them are working right now because we don't have enough occupants in the home to offset the interest rates. But when you go to multifamily 4, 6 plus, you're golden. And what's one thing that's climbing dramatically right now? It's rents. Because the barrier to entry for a lot of people is even harder because they don't have the down payment requirements. So you're actually, and I was actually explaining to my wife, I said, if we lived in the States, because they have the 1031 taxes change, I would have liquidated my whole portfolio last year, the entire thing, and I would have rolled every single dollar into 124, 48 plex, whatever would get me into it. And I would have just held there. And that was my aha moment. All these little, and we have a pretty good portfolio, but damn, it got hit pretty hard this year. We realized, okay, multifamily is definitely the way to go. So that was a really good learning moment for me. And I don't want to say humbling, but again, like we were chatting about, you kind of got to go through it to really understand it. And now that we're here, it's like, cool, let me learn these lessons and actually execute and implement on them. So now we're doing trying to decelerate the portfolio to roll over into the right producing assets, and multifamily is for sure the answer.
And the funny thing is, like I said, I knew it logistically, the multifamily. We've been investing in multifamily over the last 3 years now. And I switched my portfolio. We sold a few, as you know, on the smaller side, got into multifamily, some bigger ones, and continued to buy multifamily. So I knew the benefits, but now I'm seeing it in like real life, the difference between the portfolios. And so happy for the decisions that we made over the last 3 years. If you have the capital right now, this is the time to buy. Multifamily is your key, in my opinion, unless you're looking for a home for your family. And I'd say if you don't know what you're doing, go invest with somebody that does. Go call, feel free to give us a call. We have opportunities all the time, but go contact those that have been doing this, have the strategy, know how to do multifamily. All of our portfolio over the last 18 months has fully paid back all of our investors at every finance point, and it's looking good and exciting for the future as well.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on how long this market will last?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think everyone at this point should. But like at the end of the day, that's what we get called to sit down with families and discuss what our opinion is, and it's on them. I mean, at the end of the day, everyone needs to find their own information. But I think what it comes down to is the Bank of Canada has raised incredibly dramatic. So I don't want to go into that whole conversation. But with 2 big elections coming up, one for the States, one for Canada, historically, that's when we see all markets kind of shift because we've got to see what's going on. But one of the biggest pressure points that any politician is going to want to solve right now is the housing crisis. So to sway further votes, what's the one lever they can pull on to make them look like a really good person is bring down rates. So I think that's one variable that we have to put off to the side. I think on the macro level, there's a lot of turmoil going on in the world right now. So there's a lot of pressure on trading partners, a lot of pressure with wars and so many other, global disputes going on. Having rates as to where they're at right now is not helping the average family, and the middle class is kind of dissolving, going down while the wealthy continue to stay wealthy. So I think people are realizing that quite quickly. But I personally feel that Q3, Q4 of next year, that's when they're going to start coming down. But I think the conversation, and this is what I try to explain to people, if you recall, we just, as of right now, today's October 30th, Bank of Canada just met last week. Notice that they didn't raise rates, but just the conversation that they might stalls the market. That's what we've seen now historically. So it's almost like the boy who cried wolf. You don't actually have to do anything, but it's going to give the appearance as though it's true. So it's a very unique psychological imprint that they put on the market right now. So I believe that what's going to happen, the inverse, is next year, maybe Q1, maybe even Q2, they're going to start talking about their deceleration plan, and just the thought that they're going to start, what's going to happen to our market? It's going to catch a huge gust of wind and start pushing us back up because everyone's going to go back to the tried and true principles, which real estate is a great long-term asset. And oh, look at that. Every builder right now has stopped building. framers out of work right now. So where do you think everyone is? They're at home sitting on their couch because the builders don't want to rush to build completion to put people in jeopardy to not qualify in the new projects that they build. So what that has done, it's paused supply. We can't have positive supply. We need them to keep building because we're at a wild deficit. But right now, no one's talking about that. They're only talking about rates. So I think the second they start talking about a deceleration plan, even if it is into Q3 or Q4 going next year, I think it's going to be enough to bump the market. I don't think it's going to be psychotic, but enough to bump it. And then the next piece, which no one can have a crystal ball for, is a psychological effect. Because that's what was happening with the incline of market. FOMO was happening. People felt like, oh, if I don't buy now, I never will. So what's going to happen? People are going to go, the bottom officially is here. I want to buy at the lowest. And it might put a little bit of like a dead cat bounce in the marketplace and really pick it back up. So that's my prediction on things. And I've connected with a lot of other top economists. Like, again, at our business level, we're connected with the top mortgage specialists across Canada and a lot of big hedge funds and things such as that. And we're getting a lot of our data from the correct sources of things that I don't really think that the average consumer is going to get to, because these guys are not going on CNN and all this other stuff. They're keeping it amongst the people who need to hear the information. So we feel pretty confident in our prediction, but that's kind of where we're at right now.
I love it. Good information to have and good like thought process to go through here. Want to ask you a little bit about technology. What do you use currently in your business that you find brings a huge amount of value?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm super old school, so cell phone is my favorite thing, right? So
Like my phone, that's what I use.
I'm just kidding, but all sincerity. So I guess for us, I mean, and this is super real estate stuff, right? So I'm talking like super intimate here, how we do our business. We use a database, which I think every good business should have. Ours specifically is called Follow Up Boss. It is essentially the reason how Adriana and I stayed in contact for so long in the very early stages, by keeping a contact profile, highlighting next steps, keeping a whole communication log from phone calls, text messages, email in one concise little page, and have that for hundreds and hundreds, now in the thousands of different past clients, current clients, referral partners, whatever it is. So that's something that we live in day out, is our current database. We've definitely used AI. AI is fantastic. I actually just connected with a good buddy of mine out in Ottawa, and he put me in contact with one of his business partners. And essentially what happens now is all my emails, and this is unbelievable. Every single time I get an email now, within 1 second, it's creating a draft as to what the response should be based on how I use my cater response. So they took the time to go through thousands of my previous emails, understand my mannerisms, my punctuation, how I typically sign off, etc. And now every single time I get an email, I pop it up and I go, okay, maybe change this, and I send it. So it takes me now what it would take to respond to 50 emails. Let's say it would take an hour. Now it's taking me 10 minutes. So that's been a really good one. We use ChatGPT pretty much for just about everything, right? If we need any, like literally, right? So, and I think this is the paradigm shift. It's called ChatGPT. So I chat with it. I'll literally be like, hey man, I need to do a new video script. This is the property. And I go, sure, David, what should we talk about? I'm like, this is this. And they do it. And I go, you know what? Can I get it more in not so salesy way, but more connectivity? So I want to start honing in on the delivery method on it, right? So we use ChatGPT for all of our property descriptions. I use it to help enhance, like we just shot a commercial for our business. So I use it to enhance like what is the main trending commercials out right now in our industry. So things like that. And it has a wealth of data. So rather than trying to source articles, and now I'm talking direct to it. So ChatGPT has been a really big one. And then we use Slack for internal communications for our team. Obviously Google Calendars, and that's kind of the main.
What's the email app that you're using?
Oh, so here's the best thing. I'll have to send it to you after. Right now, it's still in prototype stage, so they haven't even launched it as of right now. So right now, I have the method for free. And actually, it's funny because a gentleman messaged me yesterday saying, "Hey, can I get some key points and what you like and don't like?" But he's going to be hopefully launching it early next year, and I think he's going to be running between $5 and maybe $10 a month as like an assisted thing. But it is remarkable. Like I was even just showing my wife. I'm like, look. So the second the email sends, right automatically underneath it, it says draft. So now I tap the draft, and it's like, here's what it is, and she's like, whoa. And I'm like, yeah, this is. And again, not that it's ever going to replace me. It's an enhancement of me, right? So that's been. I mean, you know how much I love emails. So this definitely,
I feel the same. I feel like every business owner feels the same. That's what my team does now. They'll like go over my email, draft it out, send it to me, and
Yeah. Except here's the cool thing. It doesn't do it to like my Domino's coupons or whatever. It does it specifically to anything that has an A/B dialogue. So no promotional stuff, whatever. So I'm like, it's really good now where I can just open up my drafts in the morning and just go, these are the important things that actually require a David Robbio response, right? So it's really, really neat. So that's kind of the key stuff that we're using in the business right now.
I love that. I love technology.
But yeah, we're using way more, but those are kind of the Coles notes that I think that the viewers can kind of jump on. Yeah.
I love that. I guess last question for you. If you had the world's attention for, let's say, 30 seconds, the length of a reel, what would you say?
Length of a reel. Wow. So 30 seconds is actually a pretty long time. So I think if I was actually tasked with that, I probably would use ChatGPT, to be honest with you. I would throw some drafts in there and I would condense it into a 30-second monologue and even get the spacing timed out and adequate. But I guess the what I would say is the overarching theme would be yeah, I guess first thing comes to mind, overarching theme would be to do unto others as you want to be done unto yourself. I think that would be the primary header there. And then maybe just some specific areas underneath. Because at the end of the day, everything with the world that we're seeing, and even scrap real estate, scrap investing, but which actually is tied in because there's the macro and the micro. But I think on the macro and the micro level, anything that happens, any business, any corporation, any politician, whatever the case is, the primary thing we need to be treating others as we want to be treated. And I think that would help shift a lot more perspective on how things are done. And I believe that would be the most impactful way to solve a lot of issues. I think we need to be mindful who we're having, treat others as they would want to be treating, kind of put a little bit of a structure as to what the outcome goal is there. But I think that would be my primary message.
So true. I can relate so well to that. It's really like whatever you're putting out, that's where you're going to get back.
Yes.
If you're putting out your best intention, best, value forward, if you're treating people with kindness and respect and, integrity, that's all going to get back to you. And I think we're both proof of that in our lives, because I've seen it in your business, in your personal life, and I experienced the same. So thank you, David. Where can people find you?
People could find me everywhere, right? You want to go on YouTube, you want to go Facebook, Instagram, etc. But I mean, if you want to go to Instagram, David Robbio, it's pretty straightforward. I'm sure Adriana will have my name highlighted somewhere within that. You can send me a quick DM, and then we can get connected. If you go to my Instagram page, you have all of our links for my number, website, the whole 9 yards. And as always, we're just looking to connect with authentic people and help them. So if you're a good person and you want to be connected with us authentically, let's get connected. If you're not a good person, see ya. Yeah. We don't get time for that, right? So actually, even in keeping with that, jokingly, and I just at the end here, but chatting with someone like, hey, David, like we're buying our first home, like it's, we think we can only do like 5, maybe 600,000. And I was like, hey, I'm not going to say their name, but I said, hey, just want to let you know that at 500,000 or 5 million, it's not the predecessor as if we do business or not. It's if you're a good person and we can get connected, because I've worked with people with multi-million-dollar properties and they're not fun people to connect with. And yeah, just don't need to deal with that, right? So if you're a good person, hit me up. I'd love to have the opportunity to work with you for whatever your real estate needs are. Our team is equipped to help you out.
Yeah, if you're looking to buy or sell within the GTA, give David Robbio a call. He's been an incredible part of our team here, so I know he highest recommendations on my end. Thank you so much for joining. Always so fun to see you. Looking forward to a live in-person meetup soon.
Yes, for sure. Well, thanks again for having me, and we'll see y'all soon.
See you soon. Thank you.
Bye.